Hello, I'm Dr. Chris Parker, and in this video, I'm going to give you an introduction to usability and also cover accessibility as well. So this is about describing why user evaluations are essential for uncovering usability and accessibility issues. In this process, we're going to look at the problems that designers face, what is usability, what is accessibility, and how do we create usable products. Now, the problems that designers face are very varied and go very deep. We can't go over all of them, but let's talk about UX design. In the old days, before I was born, before you were born probably, technology was very complicated and used by specialists. That was it. But nowadays, technology, no matter how advanced, can be used by everyone, from your retired professor to your small child. So we really have a problem for the majority of software, which is how can we design a product to fit all users, or a much wider range of users than we ever can imagine for. And this goes across the board. So we have a website here, so BBC iPlayer. Obviously, that needs to fit in with our retired gentleman at the top right and our fashionista bottom right. They're going to have completely different views of the world, different ideas of how things should work, different ideas of what's even acceptable. They may have different cognitive levels where maybe the woman bottom right has got dyslexia, maybe the gentleman top right has got early onset dementia. Maybe they're completely fine, we don't know. But these are all the range of people that must use a product to a very high level. Now, you might think, if we're talking about specialist software, specialist design software, then obviously we can forget about that. But you'd be wrong, because even specialist design software, the kind of software like Lectra, where you can design your clothes on, it was designed for tailors, and now everyone in the garment and manufacturing textile industry uses it in some way. There may be engineers, maybe interns. So even specialist software has an incredibly wide range of users, and we all need to use it clearly and quickly. So let's start by thinking about taking a back seat. What is usability? Well, usability is how well users can use the system functions to achieve their goals. So a usable system contributes to the user's feelings about the system. If the system works really well and we've got a really high usability, then we love it, think it's great. And we might not even be aware of why we like something, but part of it is it's fast. Part of it is I didn't have to think. It just works like magic. It doesn't just happen, it's designed. So, with usability, making tasks easy and intuitive, minimizing steps and roadblocks, supporting what users do and the tasks they do, and having great satisfaction while they are completing it. This is all about what usability is, and it's why usability is so interesting and so important. Now, let's return to the definition once again from ISO 9241 Part 11. Usability is the extent to which a product can be used by specified users to achieve specified goals with effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction in a specified context of use. It's not about having something which just works every time for everyone like magic. No one's trying to do that, but we're going, these are the people we're trying to target the most. It could be young people, it could be old people. Maybe it's a very wide range, maybe it's narrow range, but here's the people. These are the tasks I want them to achieve well. This is what they're going to be doing. We might have other tasks in there. There might be other features, but these are things we want them to do. We want them to feel it works well. We want it to be minimal effort. We want to feel happy whilst doing it. And it's in this time they're using it. So that could be something which is very relaxing, such as sitting on the sofa at the end of the day. Or it could be whilst running to catch a bus, or while commuting, or waiting in an airport. So usability is really important. There's another element to think about, which is functionality. The elements that allow a user to achieve a task. You've got physical buttons, start mechanical processes. You've got multiple buttons on phones. We press them multiple times and it will go over and do different things depending on how you're using it. Macros, you press one button and lots of tasks happen all over the place. These are all giving you functions in different ways. So we've got to think about what level of functionality we need in this task. Our cockpit for an airplane, one button, one task, limited functionality for one button, minimum errors, lots of possibilities. Your iPhone X, it's just multifunctional all over the place. Make sure that all these multifunctions and functionality is accessible. And finally, you got to think about user experience. You've got to think about making tasks meaningful and valuable to the people using it. If they are happy and excited whilst using it, you are doing a great job. So I've got another question for you. How is usability and functionality different? Well, functions are abilities of the product or service to achieve a given task. Usability determines how well users can employ the functions of a product to achieve a given result. Providing advanced functions does not mean all users can use them. We have two cameras here. One is a film camera you could shoot Lord of the Rings on, maybe. Another one is a very simple point and click home camera. Just because the video camera on the right is better doesn't mean you're going to use it properly, doesn't mean you're going to get better pictures or better videos. You got to think about who is the user and what's the context. And all the users are different. Steven Spielberg, he can really use that professional camera really easily. Woman at the bottom, I'm guessing maybe less so. Maybe for her, that point and click is the best one. So you've got to think about the level of experience the person's using. Understanding that really dictates the usability issues. People who are starting out need lots of guidance and support. People who are experts don't need that. They just want efficiency and shortcuts. Then you've got accessibility issues where if you have visual impairment, then you want to have text inputs. If you've got memory impairments, you need reminders and shortcuts. It all depends on who the user is. There's been a problem, though. In design, we've been rushing as fast as we can towards simplicity. Just think, when was the last time you used a manual? You download some software, download an app. When did you use a manual? You probably didn't. So what we're doing is we're developing tricycles all over the place and think that simplicity is the way. But you know what? If you want to win a bike race, you don't need a tricycle, you need a mountain bike, you need a racing bike. And we need to design software to be tricycles and simple when the user is novice, and need to be complex racing bikes when the user is an expert. We have to understand people, understand tasks, understand everything to make the right choice. Only then does usability make sense. And context of use is so essential. Are you using it indoors? Are you using it outdoors? Are you in an environment that's changing? Are you in a quiet place? Or is it noisy? Do you have other distractions? Is it a desktop where you can multitask very easily? Is it a tablet where it's more challenging? So let's take that idea about context of use and go further. So what context of use does an ATM machine need to work in? Need to be on a high street, easy to use for a wheelchair person, easy with different kinds of visual impairment. You can go on. But actually, I read this interview recently with a designer who designed an ATM machine. And they said that if they can work for this woman, so you're a poor person living in a hurricane zone. There's a hurricane about to hit, about to touch land. There's the last bus out. You need money for that bus. If you don't, then you're having the hurricane right now. You've got a kid screaming. You need to use the ATM machine to get the money out. If you can work in that kind of stress and be easy operable and satisfying as far as you can be, then the ATM machine works. So sometimes you've got to reconsider the extreme contexts of use, not just the nice ones where someone's relaxing and doing it, but the real difficult ones. So how is usability and user experience different? Well, usability goals are about specific criteria, so efficiency. And UX goals are about explicating the nature of the experience. So we actually talk about we're going to make it beautiful, we're going to make it meaningful. It's not about the sort of nuts and bolts part, it's the big vision. Now, UX will start off with this big vision of what are we trying to achieve, and then you hone down to the final product. And as you hone down, usability starts becoming more and more important. And eventually, before you're launching, if it's not usable or accessible, it doesn't work. So there's a grey boundary between UX and usability. They are both there. So UX goals are desirable and undesirable. Must be satisfying, enjoyable, engaging. Don't be boring or frustrating. Okay. That's very important, and these lines are very useful. Usability goals are different. Rather than just being satisfying, enjoying, engaging, we are effective to use. We are efficient to use. We are safe to use. We're having a quality that works. You can learn it easily and you can remember it easy. So effectiveness, efficiency, safety, utility, learnability, and memorability. Those are the 5 goals. And you can see that they do cross over with some of the things. They've got to be, UX goals don't necessarily touch on the same areas. I guess you could say that if something's effective and efficient, it's satisfying, enjoyable, but they do have different focuses. Let's think about something else. What is accessibility? I mentioned this earlier before. Accessibility is the degree to which a product is accessible by as many people as possible. So you're focusing on the people with disabilities. These can be mental or they can be physical. We're going to talk about this later on in the series, so don't get too worried about the technicalities, but it really is thinking about somebody with a disability, how can we design for them? Colour disabilities, common disabilities that you'll come across are colourblindness, dyslexia, and physical impairments such as an amputation. And so we can't see colours properly when your mind has a cognitive difference. So the way that you process information is different. Or you might not have as many fingers or may not have the use of your hands in the way you'd expect. So touch screens and multi-touch on iPhone X doesn't really work for them as much. These are different in many ways because accessibility is making sure there are no barriers to access for any users as much as possible, whereas usability targets everyone. So usability is this blanket term about can the majority of people use it. Accessibility is saying these people with the impairments, can they use it? And these two work together very, very closely, but there is clearly a difference between them. Now, usability, the extent to which a product can be used by specified users to achieve specified tasks and goals with effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction in a specified context of use. If a website is accessible, so someone who's disabled can use it, it does not mean it's usable. If the person with disability experiences the same efficiency and satisfaction as a non-disabled person, then the website is accessible. So, accessibility, very important, but just being accessible isn't enough. Just being usable isn't enough. You need to have both. Later on in the series, we're going to look at this website, which is Lingscars, and you'll see that it is an absolute nightmare of accessibility. Someone who uses alternative input methods is probably not going to be able to use this, whereas when you look at other websites, such as Couchsurfer, you see that it's easy to understand, easy to access, and we're going to cover these during the lecture series. So how do you create usable products? Well, the usability, UX design process is double diamond. It's discover the problem, define what is needed, develop solutions, and then deliver the end product. Usability comes at the very end of the double diamond process. It's that building, testing, iterative phase. Everything before that final delivering part is all about understanding and empathizing. Usability needs empathy, but it's more about mechanically making things better whilst understanding the person. And closer you come before going live with the product, the more important usability and accessibility becomes, the stricter the measures you have to use become, and you get more precise. And so how do you go about doing this? Well, firstly, you have things called heuristics. These are parts that you evaluate from well-known lists. So if we do all these things as best practice, we're going to have a good start. Other part is we do user testing. We get a sample of people, they come in, they use the product, they use the service, they talk through what they're doing, they express their feelings, and we observe and we learn. So, what's the theory and skills we have? We have to think about performance and satisfaction. We've got to think about biometrics of how our body's reacting. We've got the heuristics of best practice. We've got psychology of how the mind works. We have web design principles. And the skills we have as UX designers in usability and accessibility are evaluating our interface critically. Not just saying it's good, but really testing and trying to prove ourselves wrong. We have planning, usability reports. We have an agile design process where we're constantly changing. We are developing portfolios, and we're combining and presenting data. Once you understand this theory and skills and can apply them in a meaningful way, then you can design products that work for a wide range of people, making those people who have a wide range of accessibility issues from a wide range of backgrounds equally satisfied and enjoying your product.